Welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, episode number 354. My name is Brando. No, I'm not going to say it. I had a listener that said, don't say across the pond. We're going to talk to listeners from across the pond.
Big old pond.
I'm not going to do that. I'll give them a shout out because this was, as I'm joined by, we got to start out chaotic, just like the Guns N' Roses shows in London. We'll get Jack Cox, I should say.
The one.
Sorry, I'm not using.
That's all right.
Okay, having Cox in my mouth. Should I just say it?
We're for a good start. Here we go.
So that just came to me. And James Brown. Should I? The hardest working. No, not that James Brown.
I've seen him live.
Have you?
He was supporting the Red Hot Chili Peppers in 2004. Unbelievable.
Wow. I can't.
Yeah.
That show happened. Good for you.
Yeah.
Did you? I wouldn't have done this. I barely know you, and I know you're a classier person than me. You didn't wear like a shirt that said, "My name is also James Brown." You didn't go and say, "It's my name."
No, but in school, I had stick off everyone because my name. Oh, it was terrible. Terrible.
Hang on, boys, what's going on here? You're going on about your name. My surname is literally Cox. James Brown, and you've had an easy ride.
Very, very true. Very, very true. Oh, I love it. So this is going to be a fun episode. Joined by James Brown, Jack Cox. I'm very grateful that they're just not just Guns N' Roses fans, just like me, who want to talk about them, because I know many, just like me, many of you they don't have friends or family that want to talk about Guns N' Roses all the time. So this is your appetite for Distortion. Jack reached out to me via, I always say, conversation continues in between the broadcast and social media. However you contact me, Jack sent me a voice message, as some people do. Not everything is always need to be typed, and it's very cool getting a message from an Englishman. Just a very appropriate. So I know it wasn't a spammer. It was real. Requesting to be on the podcast. So just let me say, first of all, Jack, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you reaching out. Yeah. So, and you went to night 1 or 2?
Night 1. Normally when they come to town, I try and go to both nights, but night 1. I was sat on the train on the way home, and I so nearly came back to go to the second one. But from what I've heard, I'm probably glad that I didn't on that one, because it wasn't any things weren't resolved from the night before, let's say. But yes, night 1.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. And James, you were at both nights, right?
No, just the first one.
Oh, you were just at the first one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. So you know what? This actually leads perfectly into a lot of different things, which we may need to do 2 episodes for London, since it was 2 nights. Double London Jive. We may change the name of the.
That's better. That one works.
All right, double London Jive. What did I say the first time off air? I thought I said
double Tottenham Jive, double that. I don't know.
All right. Well, I probably screwed it up off. See, I screwed up on the air and off the air. So double London Jive. So we might have to do 2 episodes. And before I forget, because I want to give them shout outs to other listeners that were gracious enough to volunteer, but life gets in the way. I understand it is hard, So the Hot Spurs podcast, I think I need to get them on, because I know nothing of the Spurs. My God, I've never heard of this team before ever in my life. And this past weekend, yeah, I know, double American. Our football, we barely use our feet. So what do we know? And Scott Jones, who also reached out. So I just want to make sure I don't forget them and say thank you to both of them. So the first night, I love doing these reviews. One thing when it was in America, maybe states I visited, maybe states I didn't. Here, completely different experience. So it really starts out with, I don't know if I don't think I've seen a concert at, because a listener asked, a European listener asked, what is it comparable to a ballpark? Like seeing a game in Yankee Stadium. I was hoping to see the Foo Fighters at Citi Field this year. Obviously, with the loss of Taylor, that wasn't going to. And Citi Field being where the New York Mets play, the baseball team. I don't know how to specify that. I'm sorry. Because again, I'm dumb. I don't know. all the Premier Leagues and the soccer teams. I don't even follow MLS, so the Major
Sure.
League here.
Uh-huh.
Aware of it anyway. But what I started to see, we all look forward to just the show, the set list, what's coming, but it was the en route to the show. So, like, were both of you there early? Because like many of us, especially if you got GA seats, you want to get there early, or you want to get there. And James, I'm going to say this throughout the episode, so hopefully people reach out. If anyone has a lithograph, James would really like a photocopy or a trade or buy it off you. So, right?
Yeah, that'd be brilliant. A photocopy of it, because I've missed out on both London shows now, 2017 on this one.
Oh, okay. That was my misunderstanding when I thought it was both nights. You meant both times with the last time, now with this time. No worries. So yeah, I mean, lithographs are very cool. Very cool lithographs. Like what was the reference? It was kind of like a British monarchy. Everyone looked very cool. Of course, only the Slash and Duff and Axel featured on each one, and then they had the robot, which I now have tattooed on my arm.
Very cool.
Finally, if I can.
Very cool.
If I can point it correctly at the camera. So, I guess Jack. All right, you know what? Let me ask James. Since you were really eager to get the lithograph, did you go early?
Well, I went with my wife and her brother and her friend, and we were supposed to go up on a train. But last minute, we decided to go in a car, and he was supposed to pick us up at 9 a.m., but he picked up at 10. So we got to London late. So I didn't get to the stadium till 4:30. And the gates were opening at 3:30. So I was pretty angry at that point.
Where were you commuting from? Like, was it a far trip for you to get to?
Yeah, it took us 3 hours 45.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's rough. Were you expecting that? Because it's like when I go to usually when Guns N' Roses comes here, for the most part, they play. This is the big, I guess, stadium that I've seen them in. So I guess this is more comparable. And shame on me for not even thinking about it. I almost call them the Meadowlands. It's MetLife where the Jets and Giants play. Our version of football, the American version of football. Even though, again, that's only part of the game. Only part of. And not my favorite place to see a show with the acoustics. Normally, we'll get that specifically because it's so big, but that's what you get out of stadiums. But driving, you guys may not know, from just New York, Queens to New Jersey, you wouldn't think that's pretty cool. It's not as close as you think. With all the traffic, it really is. It's crazy. So you have to plan ahead. Were you expecting it to be that long? Was it more traffic than usual? Because this was, correct me if I'm wrong, the first major event in the stadium. I mean, first major concert.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you expect that 3.5 hours, or did you expect to get there in like 2 hours?
Well, I was expecting us to get picked up about 9 o'clock. When I found out he wasn't coming until 10, I was pretty angry. So terrible.
And so when you finally got there, were you, and I guess this is the big thing, when people were waiting outside for hours, not being allowed to go in yet. Were you waiting, or did you bypass all that from being late?
We got off the tube at Whitehall Lane, and obviously at 4:30, and we noticed the queue was massive. Nobody was going in, and we thought, oh, what's going on here? So we went to the pub for about half hour, and we came back to the line, and it was still massive. So the people who were supposed to go in at 3:30 were still there. Then you had coming in later, joining behind them. So it was chaos. It was chaos.
Take me through, Jack. What about you? Who were you with? Because James was with his family. He's already agitated. I mean, he had traffic, but you get there, like, at least I'm going to get into the stadium, and you're stuck. So take us through your beginning of your day.
I made the mistake of going out the night before, so it was a bit of a slow start. to be quite honest with you. So I'm down in Hove on the coast. So it took me about an hour, well, it took me longer than that, hour and 20 to get there. And I took the piss on the train station. It was really full, so I was walking down to try and get in a carriage that was less full, and the fuckers closed the door on me. So that was another half an hour gone. So I sat there with my sunglasses on and my bandana, just in the sun. Yeah, then I managed to find my way onto a train, and I stopped off in Blackfriars, got a mate there. So we went for a beer and some lunch. And I met up with a guy called Joe Willett, and I met him at the 2017 show. I love this guy from when I first met him. He's got a KFC Colonel tattoo on his leg, and we bonded. That was it at the first show, and I got a great video. He disappeared, and then he came back to me right at the end when I was recording Paradise City with the pyro. He came across me with the shirt off, swinging it around, being carried by the crowd. I was like, yeah. So we stayed in touch. So I met up with him and his mates at about 1:30 maybe, and then we just sort of drank until about 4:30. We got there. We didn't. It might be because I was hammered, right? But we didn't notice anything untoward. I didn't know about it until I was in the stadium that people were struggling to get in. I went into a different exit round the side, or entrance, I should say, around the side, and I flew in, absolutely flew in. But the people I was with took probably another 40 minutes to get to me, so I just grabbed a beer and I met up with Max from the band, and his girlfriend was in there as well. So it was about 8 people in there all together. So yeah, it was quite a nice afternoon.
I'm glad, because for the most part, at the end of the day, which we're going through the steps, people are like, I would do this again, despite all this. But to really set the stage, and maybe James, since you experienced more of it, and it was reported in My London News pretty quickly as it was happening, because if you were following on social media, I was following just hashtag Guns N' Roses, and you could see all these pictures of fans being stuck outside. I've been here for 3 hours. I've been here for 3.5 hours outside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and people fainting, not getting drinks. James, what did you see? Was there security out there? How is the communication as far as when you were going to be let in? Because it seemed nobody knew why. At least tell us why. At the time, it seemed like nobody knew why they were not being let in.
There was no communication, but the line was massive. And when we got our tickets scanned, we had to go up another staircase, and I thought we were in. But there was another queue, and oh my God, you had to put wristbands on. And there was 5 people putting wristbands on. So you're talking about the whole floor of the stadium had 5 people putting wristbands on, that number of people. It was and people were saying to me, it was getting late, and they were supposed to come on stage at 7:15. And if we miss the start, there's going to be a stampede. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
it was crazy. It was crazy.
Makes you wonder, the planning again, because this is a premiere. I remember I almost offended somebody saying that. I guess I was flippantly just saying, the stadium was a problem. It's not that the actual stadium that was that's bad. It was kind of the planning that was.
Yeah.
Why would you only have 5 people do that? And this is a major stadium that hosts. And again, this is my American ignorance. A popular team, right? This is a highly. No, it's not a popular team.
Oh, no, Jack. I'm guessing Jack is an Arsenal fan. Are you not? Oh, Brighton. Are you a Brighton fan?
No, I'm not. I'm not an Arsenal fan. I'm a Newcastle fan allegedly, but I love football. But I changed teams a lot when I was a kid, so I stuck with Newcastle in the end. But I love it. But I just love winding everyone up,
Yeah, well, I'm a Tottenham fan.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I've been to the stadium twice
for
the soccer matches, and there's been no problem at all. You straight in.
Sure.
No problem. But it was crazy how this event was managed. It was crazy, really bad.
I'm pretty sure that when Guns came to London, it was the same thing, but for the West Ham Stadium, the Olympic Stadium.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that was their first event, and I'm sure it was them that I saw there.
Yeah.
It was horrific to get out to that time as well, and that's
Yeah.
the worst crowd I've ever experienced. That was getting out. Didn't have any problems getting out this time though. But I was right out the door as quick as I could, to be honest.
Oh wow.
Okay. See, that's why I'm glad you had a few things there. What I noticed just from following is the day or the weekend of Guns N' Roses, and just and we'll even get to the sound issues. We're not even there yet, but just the the back and forth between the football fans. Between, I just thought it was just really funny about people just saying, typical Spurs. I don't even know what this means. And again, in my head, I'm thinking the San Antonio Spurs. What did Tim Duncan do to anybody? So it's been quite an education this weekend thus far. And then, James, since you said you've been to the games themselves and they're normally pretty equipped, I just think, who dropped the ball, so to speak. If they know, they're normally equipped. Were there not enough? I don't know. Was there a shortage of people to hire? Did they not expect to? I mean, Guns was it sold out? Was it near sold out? I'm not even. I should know that, but I'm not even sure.
Looks sold out.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it definitely did. So, James, when you finally got in, where were your seats?
We were on the pitch, on the field.
Okay. And what about you, Jack?
Yeah, I was the same on. So if you're facing the stage, probably the back right. Yeah, just after the sound desk, I think, around about where I was. But yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you guys got in, but the sad part of the wait, whether who experienced it more or not just whether you got there super early or not. Michael Monroe, that act was axed. I mean, that sucks. I mean, I never thought. I don't know about you guys. We all played these Guns N' Roses like wish games. What if he came out for Ain't It Fun or Bad Obsession? And, Michael Monroe, who's been on the podcast, is such a great guy, and you want him to have this opportunity to play for Guns N' Roses, and then he has no show. So it just sucks. And
did he get a show the second night?
He did.
Good.
I think it was a little abbreviated. I think everybody was abbreviated. And I think, again, we're going to do probably a London part 2 to talk about that, where things were not much better the second night with letting people into the stadium. You would just think, I don't know, you would go on like Indeed.com and hire some more security people or something, or you could not use wristbands, something maybe more electronic. Again, I wasn't there, so I'm doing my best to get, everyone's perspective on it.
For me, it must be the promoters. I'm sure it's Live Nation. It was Live Nation's event, I would have thought.
Sure.
So the only thing I can gather is from what James was saying, if it hasn't been going like that, and normally from what I know about how these things work with football games, is they are well run to try and stop fans getting together and having the crush and people getting mouthy and things like that. They just want people to get on and get home and want it all to be nice and quick. So it doesn't surprise me that it's slick. So the only thing I can think of is that it's not been run by Tottenham, and they've outsourced that security requirement or that to Live Nation for them to deal with. I'd assume that has to be it for me.
It seems like the logical thought process. I really, I think the major thing is, and you would see some fans. I saw it online, wouldn't say it, but thankfully, the real GNR fans came out in full force, being like, "Oh, typical Guns N' Roses." And they had nothing to do with it. They had zero to do with it. And what's interesting, I don't know if the mic picked it up. God bless you. To my wife. Now I can actually say that. Oh, you know what? It just reminds me, and I'll go say it here, because she likes Absurd, which what woman likes Absurd? That song. Yeah, she's like, I do. We were watching Stranger Things last night. She's like, sorry, I'm saying this. She's like, do you think Kate Bush has a bush? No, I want to give you credit for that. That was just really funny.
You'd hope so. I think she'd be letting the side down if not. And she's a woman of the 70s, right? That's
Yeah, right.
Definitely Bush, definite.
All right. See, I'm like, I see something shiny, and I'll tie it back to Guns N' Roses. How I'm kind of like that dog that sees a squirrel. It's like a squirrel.
uh,
I won't be paying attention to the TV, or just I like it on in the background normally. All of a
mhm.
sudden, the Thor commercial comes on with "Sweet Child of Mine," and I'm like, "Ooh!" And you kind of just react. Like, why is Guns N' Roses on TV? Oh, it's the Thor commercial. So I don't know. I get distracted easily. So see, I'm just like you guys. Even though I have a podcast, I'm just like you. We're just hanging out.
It's nice that you've remained grounded after all this time, eh? Just like us. Yeah.
That's what we want to call it. Jack, what
Hmm.
was the last time you saw it? Like, how often do they come? It's something I've been able to truly appreciate from doing these fan reviews is how spoiled I am being in New York City and how they come, how
Hmm.
bands come here. I mean, Buckethead is coming here. It's crazy. So how often does Guns N' Roses come to this area?
It was quite good recently. I mean, I saw them in 2010, 2012, 2017, I think is when they came. I think that's what you said. Saw them then both nights. And I saw them in Prague and Paris as well. I can't remember which one. I think Paris was the last one out of those lot last time. And then now here again. So I think it's every sort of 2-3 years, whenever they do a proper world tour, they'll come and say hello. I think they're quite well. They're very well received here. I think we like to think of them as our own almost, which is obviously not true. Half of Slash will take that, but yeah. So I think they treat us quite well. To be honest with you, don't know if James agrees, but yeah, I certainly think so.
Yeah, James, how often have you seen them? What years have you seen GNR?
2002 in London.
Cool.
Saw them in Download Festival 2006, Wembley Arena 2006. I didn't go to the 2010 ones because I don't know, I just didn't connect with DJ Ashba. Did not. I thought with a top hat, and I just did not think it was cool. So I missed that tour. So I saw them with Jack in 2017 at West Ham Stadium, and obviously on Fridays at Spurs Stadium.
Very cool. And I have a special bond with those who have seen Guns N' Roses in 2002 for some reason. No, not for some reason, because that was my first time seeing GNR as well. And also, shout out quick other, my squirrel moment when I guess think of something. Shout out to the person who was selling a 2002 Chinese Democracy shirt on eBay. Kind of has that gold lion-y kind of.
Oh yeah.
So I bought one when I went, and I don't know. It was like it ran big, and I cut the sleeves off. I cut the bottom off. I butchered it. I just destroyed it. Unless I want to look like I'm in, the Village People. I don't want to. I'm not wearing. So I just cut it out as like a back patch now. But I've always wanted the shirt. I'm like, I wish I still had that shirt. And I just bought it off eBay in size medium, perfect, because I haven't grown since 2002, I guess.
I've got a favourite shirt, one that I picked up at Download in. Oh shit! I saw them in Download as well. I even forget how many I've been to now. But they did a really nice one at Download Festival, and it was purple, and it had a I can't remember, like some kind of goblin type thing on a motorcycle, and I thought that was really cool. One of my girlfriends, my girlfriend at the time, ruined that in the wash. So I'm always I'm gutted about that. But yeah, I like that one for sure.
So keep that in mind, and also you, James, because at the end, I want you both to tell me your favorite piece of Guns N' Roses memorabilia. Like it could be a shirt, it can be a ticket, picture, whatever. So just put that in your little hat. If you have one, and think about it later. James, so when you were there, what were you looking forward to the most? Was there a certain song? Was it just being with your family? Was it like what expectations did you have for the show? And I guess what did it meet it? Did it exceed it? Was it less than? Tell us your review.
Well, we booked tickets for, when was it, 2020. Obviously COVID hit, and my wife was supposed to come with me then, but we had a little boy, so she couldn't come, obviously, to that one. No, 2017. Sorry,
Oh,
he was
Careful.
born. He was born only 2 months before it, and she had cold feet. Oh, we can't go. So this time around, I made sure she had come, and so I was happy with that. But my brother-in-law was worried about Axel because he's heard rumors about his voice, and I was like, there's no need to worry. And as soon as he opened up with "It's So Easy," he looked at me and he just nodded his head as if to say, "Oh yeah," it was spot on.
Oh, I love that. So that's a special moment right there, between you and your brother being like, "Yep, told you so." He's good.
Yeah.
And I'm going to want to get into, I think why we're going to need to do eventually, a part 2, and I'm just acknowledging it now, that Axel, and we'll talk about the acoustics now, and I'm going to get your opinion on it, Jack, because you look like a musician. It looks like you can kind of tell me, I won't be able to explain it as well as you can, the sound and the acoustics of it. But
Sure.
Axel, one thing I'll acknowledge, and maybe you guys also can tell me, the Telegraph, that's like what? Kind of a rag paparazzi kind of paper, or is that something serious?
It's more serious.
It is serious. So there was an article that came out saying, and it's only there, that Axel, from this night's performance, first night, had an anxiety attack and slept at the stadium, which he acknowledged, saying that he slept at the stadium on stage the second night, and it mentioned nothing about anxiety. So I just don't know if the anxiety part is actually true or not. I never like to, put where, if Axel, whether he wants that even out or not, if he had that. So I'm just kind of very careful about it. So I guess keeping that in mind, I guess I want to know what you saw that night, Jack, as a musician. Did you see, because there were frustrations with the sound, which I even saw when the U.S. tour started in Hershey Park, him yelling at the sound guy, but still finishing the show and being a total pro, but frustration. There was a video that Megan / his girlfriend was taking, and Axel's, she just happens to be filming, throws like, I believe his earpieces or something at the stage. It was a lot of frustration being reported. So what did you see? What's your review of the sound of it?
The sound is probably the worst. I had a great time. Let me start by saying that. I had a 10 out of 10 time. I mean, for me, I was looking forward to Locomotive because that's probably my favorite GNR song, or top 3, and I haven't ever seen it, and I've been staying away from the set list because there was a time when I knew all the songs that were coming up, so I didn't want that this time. I wanted to just go and enjoy it and be in the moment of it. So yeah, that's for me where it falls down. Is that the set was cut short. They didn't play "You Could Be Mine," and I was just left like, that's a really good show for people that may be seeing them the first time, because an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever they did is very commonplace for any other act. But I know what they're capable of, I suppose. So yeah, I mean, the sound was the worst sound I've probably ever been to at a live gig. I normally wear earplugs because I've got tinnitus, but I decided I'd take them out because how many more times am I going to get to see Guns N' Roses in my lifetime? So I thought, let's burn the ears. Let's do it for this one. And I could not, for the life of me, make out. There was a song that I didn't even know what they were playing. It turns out I think it was "Which the Line Man," I think, looking back through the set list. But it took me about a minute and a half to actually even understand what song they were playing. It was all over the show, sound-wise. Axel was, unless he was really pushing, that's the only time I really heard him, or in some of the songs that are more stripped back, like "Estranged," when it's just quieter, you can hear his voice more. And I think he stopped at some point in "Estranged," and he said, can you hear, or I couldn't hear all of it, but I could hear him make out or say something along the lines of, "Can you hear me? Is the sound all right?" or something like that.
Right.
But I didn't hear all of that. And so yeah, you could tell he was not happy. I've definitely seen him have more frustrated days, that's for sure. He seemed in good spirits from what I could tell, but I didn't actually have eyes on him from where I was standing. I was going by the big screens. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that is what happened. The reports, and there have been videos since that have come out, of course, about that he stopped the show during "Estranged."
Right.
I mean, just take a moment to think about that and what year this could have been and when this happened. Like if this was 1992, it's like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Duck and cover, jump into dumpsters and just try not to get run over. It's gonna be a riot. No, let's start again. So it's despite all the frustrations you'll see, I mean, it's just wow. Like this Axl Rose, it's a different one, but I'm all here for it. That despite the show being delayed an hour because of the sound issues, and whatever, if he was vocally struggling because of that, because I'm not a musician, I'm not a singer, I don't know how how the muscles in your throat are used depending upon how well you hear yourself and how he sings. That can be it. And also, I guess I'm curious because I'm looking at the set list now, guys, for the first night. The song that you didn't recognize. I don't see Wichita Lineman in there.
What?
Was it maybe was it the Blackbird cover? The Beatles?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that might have been it. That might have been it.
Oh, I mean, well, come on. You should know Blackbird. I mean, what country are you from?
It's awful. Awful. Yeah, I couldn't make it out. Could not make it out. Not for the life of me.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I guess another big thing is because despite all that, and I joked around, on Twitter as one does, with all this delay, maybe they should debut a new song. They didn't debut a new song. However, they debuted Carrie Underwood, officially on stage with Guns N' Roses. So she had her show at this country fest. Stagecoach, I believe it was called, and Axl came out, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, this is so crazy!" And now she's coming out on stage with the full band Guns N' Roses, realizing her childhood dream. She's the biggest GNR fan. You can really tell it's not fake, like that she loves this band. So, James, what did you think when she came out? Like, did you? You never know with Guns N' Roses. That's what I love. Surprise guests. It's always a possibility.
Can I first say, I thought they sounded, where I was standing, it was really good.
Yeah,
really
good.
I have no problems at all, but we could see, obviously at the front, people were like lifting their hands up to say, put the volume up. And I spoke to a few people after the gig, and they were saying the first two songs, they couldn't hear Axl or Slash. And I was very surprised because where we were, it was perfect. So,
okay. Another good tidbit. Yeah, because it depends on where you sit. Absolutely. And the fact that you, maybe like you, James, traveled all this way, spent all this money to get a good seat, and you can't hear the main two guys.
Wow. Yeah.
And no offense to Duff. All right. Whatever.
He's a bass player. He gets it.
Yeah. It can happen. It can happen. But yeah, wow. This is awful to hear that can happen to people. And I'm glad both of you didn't really experience that.
But when he stopped doing Estranged, I thought he was going to kick off. At one point, I thought, "Oh no," do you know what I mean? But he laughed it off.
Right? That's what I'm saying. Like you get the reminder. It's almost like PTS Saxo Rose. Like you can see that angry face. Like, oh God, he's in that. Thanks to the lame ass thanks to the lame ass sound, I'm going home. And that didn't happen. Just to stop it. And you know what? That's a professional. There's a few ways to do it. Even my low level of doing a radio or podcast, you battle through it. You can redo it. I mean, there's different ways, but you push forward and you finish the show. You finish the show, and I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
I do miss the rants though. Rants. I do miss them. I'm probably in a complete minority of Guns N' Roses fans, but I just love it. I adoring the man since I was like a teenager. I've always read things and watched things about him being really funny and sweet and kind. So it's just really nice for like the general public to be seeing that now. After sort of the Axl Rose, the Rose reconnaissance, or what? Not reconnaissance. What was it? Oh fuck! What's the Matthew they say about Matthew McConaughey? What's that word?
Matthew McConaughey. Renaissance?
Yes.
Oh,
it's like his comeback after AC/DC, where his voice seemed to get the rasp back into it and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's kind of
but
been
yeah,
like inventing Axl Rose. He's kind of really making a new narrative about himself. I think,
hmm.
that's another word I can use. Uh, I'm trying to find the tweet of so I can call him out and kind of make fun of him because it goes back to Carrie Underwood. And there's a few things here. I know the set list has kind of been changed. The London shows for sound issues and things being cut short, but they've added things. They move songs around. Don't complain about the set list anymore. But this guy, he's like, you know what? After Hard School, I'm like, it just seemed like a lot of the same stuff they played last time. I'm out. And he went with his wife and a couple kids. And then I'm like, you miss Carrie Underwood. I'm sure your daughters would have liked to have seen that. And he just responds, oh no, with an exclamation mark. I'm sorry, I can't find the Twitter. So I'm just curious again, James and Jack. I know Carrie Underwood. I'm not expecting you guys to be also Carrie Underwood fans, but what do you think of that moment of her coming out and singing both Sweet Child and Paradise City?
Well,
Well,
I go on, James.
Okay. Well, first time I've heard of her was when I saw her on stage with Axel, the stagecoach, because country is not very big over there.
No.
So, but she sounded brilliant. My wife and my brother-in-law didn't know who she was.
That's a good point. Jack, do you know who Carrie Underwood is?
I only know her from when she did Paradise City, probably 10 years ago, maybe more. Somewhere there's that video. I remember the jean shorts. There's probably enough said about those. She was wearing some jean shorts at the time, I believe. And as a teenager, in all seriousness, she absolutely smashed it. She put in a high energy performance. The vocals were on point. The band played it very close to how G and I would play it. And I don't think Guns had reformed at this point. So I was made aware of her by how much of a good job she did. And I watched that video subsequently on YouTube a few times because of how good it is. So when I saw her at Stagecoach come on, I thought that was good. Yeah, and Axel, was nice to see Axel coming on cold and still doing a good job at 60. So yeah, it was good to see it. I mean, Sweet Child, I get it, fine, bring her out, but Paradise City for me is the big closer. I don't really want Carrie. I don't want to go home thinking, yes, Carrie Underwood. Come on, fuck off. You've had your 5 minutes. Let's get Axel back on board. There was no confetti. There was no pyro. I want that big right at the end. Everyone's going mad. Piss is getting thrown. It's angry. We should be applauding. Thank you. The religion has just come back into town. But yeah, I don't know. She's good. She's good. But as a traditionalist, let's say, I think it would have been better for her just to maybe have the one song.
Okay, fair enough. And this is just fascinating to me because you're not the only one to say that. I got a lot of responses of who's Carrie Underwood? Why? And I'm not a country music guy. You like the Johnny Cash, the obvious ones, Hank Williams the third. Randomly, it's like kind of like country punk kind of thing. But needless to say, I'm not a traditional fan. I know of a lot of names just from working in radio, just being around country stations. I think I even did country station. I think I did do some on air on a country station once just to get it on my resume, which is true. 96, 94.3, 97.3, The Wolf in the Hudson Valley. There you go. Well, with Carrie Underwood, yeah, she got her start, I guess, on American Idol. Why would you guys know that? Did you probably do you have that version? Do you have like your version of that, or is it with Simon Cowell? What is it?
Yeah, it was. So would you have American Idol? So we had Pop Idol before, then that went to America, and then we had X Factor. I think took over after that from Simon Cowell.
Yeah, so it's all the same thing. So she won the singing X Factor version of American Idol, whatever. And she ever since then, she's one of the few who have maintained a career after winning that competition. I think she won, or just that's how she became famous, winning Grammy Awards. She's a country artist, multi-platinum, all these just accolades, and she's been touting her fandom for Guns N' Roses for years. And so it is interesting that there is a side of the world that has no idea who she is. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, wow, this is a really cool crossover. Yeah, I'd rather, I don't know, Dave Mustaine come out or something, rocking, more so. But I'm happy for Carrie since she's a big Guns N' Roses fan. But again, that's why I like talking to people all over the world. Just puts things into perspective. Also reminds me, as I keep going, sorry, because Jack, you were right. How you kind of want to claim Guns N' Roses as your own, because it just reminded me of a comment. And I want to, before I forget it, what Doug Goldstein told me. He argues that Guns N' Roses broke in the UK. He's like, that's where we really made a name for themselves. So he's like, that's kind of like our home away from home. It'll be in his eventual book. And by the way, Doug is still, his back is all fucked up, but we're working on the book, but slowly and surely, because it's like, how is he going to work on the book lying on his back, writing and thriving in pain? He can't do it like that. So
That's going to be an interesting book.
Yes, when it comes out, yes, it will be. Yes, it will be. Because Doug likes to remind me, by the way, and you guys will appreciate this as Guns N' Roses fans, everybody will. Then I'm like, aren't you going to get in trouble for saying any of these things, or am I like, are we going to get sued? I don't have money to get sued. Thinking about like maybe what happened in Matt Storm's book. He's like, I didn't sign the non-disclosure agreement. It's like, I was their manager. Why would I need to sign one? I quit. I didn't get fired. I quit. Why would I need to sign one? So he's like, I can say whatever the fuck I want. Okay. All right, Doug. Cool. All right. So we'll see see if that's to look forward to. So no Carrie Underwood. So let me ask though, what do you guys think about the new, quote unquote, new songs at this point? Absurd and Hard School. I'd love to get people's opinions on that. We know my wife's opinion on Absurd, but James, what about you? Do you like do you like the song that should be heard? Absurd. First time
when I first heard it in there was Rock in Rio. Was it 2001? It was Silkworms, wasn't it?
Right.
Was it Silkworms? Yeah. Did not like it at all, and I was happy it didn't make the album. But when I heard the re-released version, obviously Absurd, you got Slash's guitar on it. It was a bit more acceptable. But Hard School, massive fan of Hard School. Really like that.
Excellent. Yeah, just like with you, when I heard that live version of Rock in Rio, I did not like it. Silkworm.
Yeah.
And whatever Slash and Duff did to it, made me like it. It makes me. I put up this this picture. You guys have seen Back to the Future.
Mm-hmm.
The scene in the gymnasium when they're playing Chuck Berry. This is an oldie, or you guys aren't ready for this yet, but your kids are gonna love it. That part.
Yeah.
You think about Axl Rose about Silkworms. You're not ready for this yet, but your kids are gonna love it when it's called Hard School. Yeah, you guys are good. Yeah, I thought it was. So I'm good. What about you, Jack? Are you absurd? How do you feel about it?
I tried really hard with Absurd, and I think the conclusion I've come to is it's very difficult for me to say, because I don't think I even like My World. I'm in that camp, but I don't think that Absurd works for me. I actually went back and listened to the recordings of Silkworms, to the live ones, and I think there's some bootlegs of Silkworms out there, unless I'm mistaken, which I may well be. And I preferred how it was back then. I don't think the chorus. I think the chorus works a lot better with how they used to have it. So yeah, that was that. And Hard School, it just seems very safe for me. It's great to hear new music, but I don't know about Absurd and when Axl would have tracked those vocals, but certainly Hard School is vocals of, I would estimate 2006, just by listening to his voice, that sort of tone that he's got there. So it's for me, it's quite hard to get into when I know, or at least I think I know, that it's not completely contemporary and up to date. But it's just good to hear new music from them. I'd be sitting here first complaining that they haven't put out any new music. So what do I want?
Right.
It's very difficult for them, I think, with right now. And I'd be interested to see if they do actually go and put out any albums, because think amongst friends, it's there seems to be an opinion that they don't think they will. I'll be interested to know what you think.
It is fascinating that after all this time, the first release that they put out is such a controversial, absurd, just with how abrasive the song is, the lyrics, just like, whoa. If you're not a diehard, even the diehards like you guys, may not love it. I don't know why. I like it. I've said it's not up there with my favorites. It's not There Was a Time. It's not Mr. Brownstone. It's not the classics, but it's something that I really enjoy being part of their repertoire now. But it makes me think, and I'm trying to look up also, which is why again, eventually one day I'll have a producer or someone who can help me just get stats on the go, since I'm not good at multitasking. But one of the shows, this leg, I believe, Axel joked, "Here's a new song I wrote 20 years ago." I mean, it was something like that. So he's aware of what he's doing, and it just makes you think that why release absurd that is absurd? Why joke about the new song that you wrote 20 years ago, and that be it? Like, unless you had other things planned. So it makes you hope for, and it's another thing we could talk about. Maybe you guys have an opinion on. I don't know if while I like comic books, I'm not a huge Marvel movie person. It's too much to keep up with after a certain point. But with the new Thor, there are some reviews that have gone out, early reviews, and it just makes it seem like it's more than just Sweet Child of Mine. Like, one of the quotes was, there are Guns N' Roses epic battle scenes and so much Guns N' Roses, and there's this leaked soundtrack list that has the hits on it, a few hits, I believe Welcome and Paradise and Sweet Child, even November Rain, which has never been used in a movie before.
Good trivia,
right? Which has never been released, which makes it, because November Rain is like a movie. So if Thor scored November Rain, that's honestly, I'll go see it just for that, which is just, it was crazy to me. Why not release a new song these ways? I don't know. So that's the problem I have. I'm like, they have music, they all can do it. I guess they released these two songs they probably had in their back pocket, which I don't know how hard it was for them to put together, with Absurd and Hard School basically being done, and how fast and Slash and Duff work. So what's the holdup? What's the holdup, bub? So I don't know. I don't know. So that's my long-winded response to that.
I thought they were. I thought COVID scuppered an album. I thought that this tour was being booked and they were just going to put out an album after they announced it, and that was going to drive the ticket sales. So I don't know what kind of arenas, if they're still doing stadiums in America or if they're doing back to arenas as it stands. But
nothing's rescheduled yet. Now they're focusing on Europe and South America. So I don't know, man. I really don't know. James, I know you, and I appreciate you religiously. You're one of my best followers on the AFD podcast on Twitter. I mean, you see me, we talk about this all the time, you and I, on Twitter.
Yeah.
Do you foresee new music happening?
Well, when they got back together in 2016, I 100% thought they would do an album, but because it's been so many years, I don't think it's coming. I think they just enough. The material they've got. If you think about it, it's just the illusions and appetite. It's crazy. That's how good they were. Do you know what I mean? So they don't need to. They don't need to.
You're right. That's the argument for them not releasing an album. They don't need to.
Yeah.
If Slash has an outlet with Miles, if Duff always finds an outlet, they don't need to. Maybe it's just kind of my, I'm on the side of the fan with high hopes and just hoping. But we hope for so many years of a reunion, and we kind of got one. So take what we can get, I guess. So yes, then show overall, waiting, some sound issues, stop and start. What did you think overall, James? What did you think overall of the show?
I loved it. I thought the set was fine because 3.5 hour. I think for my wife, standing up for that long is too much, and she's got a bad back. So I thought it was perfect. But like Jack said, they didn't play "You Could Be Mine," and I was a bit shocked at that. But I can see why they dropped out "Coma," because that's a long one, and they didn't play "Back in Black." Did not do either. So I was perfectly fine. The sound, I thought the sound was brilliant.
Yeah, because those are now. Yeah, if you're waiting for a certain song, you have your favorites, and it's no fault to the band, and it gets cut. It can kind of, I don't want to say ruin your night, but it kind of leaves you being, man. Like if things went according to plan, they would have played Back in Black and You Could Be Mine, and it just goes, fuck, man, it sucks. So I feel for you and the rest of the fans that still got a great show, a long show, but they set such a high standard, it's hard to live up to.
Yeah.
Jack, did you get everything that you wanted out of this show, or what did it leave you wanting?
No, I mean, that's why I was just sort of saying that I kind of wish I went the second night, but upon knowing what I know now, I'm glad that I didn't, because I wouldn't have got any more out of it than I already got from the first night. It was disappointing. As I say, I just wanted to see Locomotive. That's the only box I've got left to tick. I think song wise, that I really desperate to see. Have they been playing on this tour? Because I haven't been looking for purely the reason of wanting to be surprised.
Nope. So well, they haven't. So you didn't miss it because everybody's missing it.
Sure. Because I saw they put that back in at the end of the last run, didn't they? Oh man.
Yeah, a couple times, Dead Horse, but as well, but not.
Of course,
you didn't miss that. So that, thankfully, I guess that's the silver lining. It's not like they cut Locomotive, and you would finally have seen it. They just didn't play it. Was there a highlight, Jack? What about like the highlight of the show for you?
Probably Reckless Life. I haven't heard them play that before, and I know they recently put that back in. That was great to hear that. Up tempo, fast. It was just what you want out of a Guns N' Roses tune. So yeah, that was probably my personal highlight. Or A Night Train. It always goes down incredibly well. It's just one of the best hard rock songs ever put together. I think it's just dramatic and driving, and everyone's in each other's arms, and everyone tries to go really high, and no one can do it, but no one cares. That's what it's all about. It's great. It's really, really cool.
Absolutely, man. What about you, James? What was a highlight for you?
I'm gonna have to say either Welcome to the Jungle, because obviously my wife hasn't seen him live, and she was bouncing as soon as that kicked in. So, and November Rain, he sounded amazing, absolutely amazing.
That's great. Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah, because sometimes November Rain, if he's got to hit it right. It's such a thing to live up to. Again, going back to the movie, potentially being in Thor, it's such an epic song, and if you want to see lights and everything during November Rain and the backdrop, everything, it's such an epic part of each Guns N' Roses show, and that'll never be cut. That'll never be cut from the set. So I said I was going to ask it earlier. Favorite piece of Guns N' Roses memorabilia? Jack, do you have one?
I do. I've been struggling to find it since I've moved, but I met Slash outside of Brixton show he did in, let's go 2012, somewhere around there. I was very team Axl still at that time. Not that I didn't like Slash, I would love him, but so yeah, I wasn't up to date with necessarily his deep cuts on his most recent records, but Max took me along, and we stayed outside and we queued for probably about an hour and a half. We got talking to the tour bus driver outside Brixton. He was like, yeah, he'll come out, he always does. We're like, great. But we didn't realise for 40 minutes we were queuing around one side of the building, and the queue was forming to actually meet him around the other. So we had to go all the way to the back again. And we queued up, and I had my ticket. And I saw him. I said, "Oh, just got to say, Mr. Slash." I didn't say Mr. Slash. You're the reason why I'm in a band. And he goes, "I'm sorry to hear that." And everyone laughed. And I had the most wholesome moment. So somewhere there is a signed Slash ticket. But where that is, I do not know. But regardless, that memory can't be taken from me. So yeah, that's it for me for sure.
Awesome. I love it. And what's the name of your band?
The Rattlebacks.
The Rattlebacks.
Yeah. So think of us basically like Guns N' Roses. No, not at all. We're trying to be the band that was supposed to come after Guns N' Roses, because you had your GNR, you had your Alice, and then Britpop came, and then all of a sudden you got your last sort of good rock music in the early, well, mid noughties with Avenged and Bullet by Valentine and people like that, Linkin Park maybe. But there's never been a progression from there. Skid Row maybe the last hope. So yeah, we're trying to fill that gap for people like me, that there isn't this music out there now. So yeah, that's that in a nutshell. But thanks for asking. Thanks for the plug.
No problem. And also, I want to see, are you able to show your awesome Axel tattoo that you sent me an Instagram of? Are you able to show it? I don't know where.
If you don't mind me exposing myself, I can.
Oh my God!
Oh God! Yeah, good. James, look away.
So here we go.
Oh God! He's unbuttoning. Where is this tattoo? Holy shit! He's pulling his.
It's on my leg. Don't worry, chaps.
All right, now his underwear still on.
Oh, hang on. We can do this. You got it?
Oh yeah.
Oh, cool.
So what's in his upper thigh? Right thigh, and wow, look at that Axel's face. And what does it say? Because silence isn't. Oh, that's from Locomotive.
Don't damn me.
Oh, don't damn me. Forgive me.
Oh,
Jack, we lost you.
I know. I'm back. I think. Sorry, I came over all unnecessary.
Beautiful. That's a really, for those who can see it on Twitter, like excuse me, on YouTube. Wow, that's a really well done. I'm always afraid of people getting portraits. You see, even with bad Axl Rose tattoos, where it looks like Pauly Shore or Napoleon or something.
I get Leonardo DiCaprio a lot.
Oh, really?
But I think people are just being wankers.
Oh.
Let's go.
James, you don't have to show us any tattoo, as we're not seeing any of you. Do you have a favorite memorabilia yourself? Piece of memorabilia?
Yes, I've got a Use Illusion. Like, do you know when they give it like a platinum disc to a band? I've got one that's presented to Tower Records for a sale of, I think it was $1 million. And oh my God, I've got it wrapped up upstairs. I bought it off eBay back in 06. It's so cool.
Right.
Nice.
Very cool.
I really want a mic. Can someone source me a microphone?
What? You want to get Axel's mic?
Yeah, there's a person that is on the Not in This Lifetime. I think he's got 2 or 3 of these fucking things. I don't know how that works.
That's a conspiracy. Stop it. It's like those people who can catch multiple foul balls in baseball. Like maybe you can do some mathematics, know where a home run's going to be hit, but I mean, does Axel always? Can you predict that? Like, does he have a certain trajectory? I don't know. 3 of them. That's insane. Also, whatever. So if anyone else has a microphone, an extra microphone out there, hit up Jack. And if you have lithographs, make sure you hit up Mr. James Brown, the hardest working man in podcast business.
Thank you so much.
No problem, because we've done episodes with many episodes with Arian Bueller, who does a lot of these lithographs, and wow, that's been kind of the unsung hero of this reunion. Just the amazing artwork and that they put out there that I have on my walls.
It's awesome, so good. But what I don't get is the only release was about 150 or 180, and the scalpers are buying them. They're not real fans, and they put them up for £500. And thanks for mentioning I'm looking for them. I'm just looking for a photocopy of the Axel or Slash when I'm happy for that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I'm not into that. The people who just buy it to resell it,
Yeah.
fucked up. Like, you're not for what, to fuck up over another Guns N' Roses fan? I'm not into that. So that's why. Yeah, no, I'm with you. That's why I really appreciate the person who sold Chinese Democracy on eBay, only selling it for $30. Like,
wow.
Why are you gonna rip off other fans? If you don't want it, make the money it's worth, and let's call it a day. I don't know. I'm sounding like an old man already. Yeah, why can't everybody get along? So that's what these episodes are about. The reviews were going all around the world, showing that doesn't matter where we're from, how long we wait, we all love Guns N' Roses. And once we get there, You know, it's just I thank you both for taking the time. So I think this is going to be London part 1, double London Jive part 1, because we only spoke about night 1, and we're going to talk about night 2 with Axel changing his vocals, perhaps
Sounded
getting.
good.
It did. It did. So it's going to be, you know, if you've listened online, guys, you know, I haven't listened to a lot of it, but the vocal styling is completely different, where a lot of fans have been clamoring for this for years for other reasons, thinking he's 60, he can't sing like he's 20 anymore. I mean, that's a conversation we can have until we're blue in the face. But does this make Axel change his approach in the future? You know, where he's in that lower register, or was this a one-time thing because he's sick? That'll be interesting, because we are going to do a Dublin review. We have people coming on for Dublin, so I guess we'll find out soon enough.
Nice. I'll be looking forward to it.
All
Be
right,
good to
cool.
listen to. But thank you.
Yeah, no problem, guys. So that does it for this episode of Appetite for Distortion. When will we see the next one? In the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, you'll see it. I don't know if soon is the word.